Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 3 for this week. This one's going to have a lot of numbers in it for those of you that are geeky in that sense, but we're going to take a look back at the climatological seasons and the climatological year because they don't quite match up with the calendar year. Basically, the reason this is done is that let's just assume that the year has 360 days, okay? And we're just not going to worry about the other 5. It's close enough. So if you take the 90 coldest days on average during the year, it turns out to be about December 5th to March 5th, okay? And then the 3 hottest ones are from June 5th to September 5th. So basically, since that approximates the period from winter being December, January, February, spring being March, April, May, summer, June, July, August, and fall, September, October, November. That's the way the climate seasons are defined. And so yesterday was the end of the climatological year, if you will. And so we're going to take a look at these periods of time and see how we did. So let me put myself in the corner and we will proceed. Okay. So these are the top 5 warmest years for meteorological winter, which is December through February. And last year, from 2022 to 2023, we were the warmest winter on record with a temperature of 48.7 degrees, almost a full degree ahead of 2016 and 2017. Then, when we moved on to the spring, we were not in the top 5. We were actually tied for 11th with an average temperature in the spring of 61.7. In the summer, we ended up being, again, not in the top 5, but close, tied for 7th with a average temperature during the summer months of 79.4. And then during the fall, we ranked 11th. So we weren't in the top 5 there either. So of the 4 seasons, we were only in the top 5 for the winter. Up there, certainly in the upper quarter of the climatological record, which goes back to 1945, but not in the top 5, not in the most extreme. Okay, and when you take a look at the climatological year, which would run from December 1st of last year until November 30th, yesterday, then we are in 3rd place overall with a temperature during that period of time of 63.3. And you can see they're all bunched up there quite a bit, so it doesn't take a whole lot to move up or down that chart, but that's the way it turned out for the climatological year. Now, let's take a look at things with regard to precipitation. During meteorological winter, we were tied for 38th driest, okay, which is sort of in the middle of the pack, so nothing terribly unusual there. Then, as we headed into the spring months, we were the 63rd driest, which means we were the 17th wettest, all right? So it was a rather wet spring across the area with about 12 2/3 inches of rain during that 3-month period. Over the summer, we were ranked 20th driest with 10.49, so again in the upper echelon, but not in the top 5. And then as we headed through September to November, we were ranked 37th with a precip total of 9.13. And the interesting thing here is that during that period of time, 74% of the rain, 74% of that 9.13 inches fell in 4 days, which turns out to be about 4% of the number of days during that period, okay? So it all sort of came in bunches, and so the majority of that period was actually quite dry. And as a result, when I show you the drought classification, it's going to indicate that. But, it's one of those things where supposing you have a 31-day month, and the first 30 days of the month it doesn't rain at all, your normal rainfall is 3 inches, then you get 3 inches on the 31st. And somebody looks back at that and says, oh, it was a normal month. Anybody in the farming business will certainly tell you, especially if it's in the summertime, that was not normal and it was not to their advantage for it to turn out that way. And then here are the top 5 driest for the climatological year, and we ended up being ranked 32nd. We had 41.57 inches during that period. Now here is the current drought monitor, and this was released just yesterday on November 30th. And you can see that Wake County up in here is in the yellow, which is abnormally dry. That's not really a drought classification. It means that you're either heading into a drought or coming out of a drought. You're sort of in the transition period there. But off to the west, then we start to get into moderate drought, severe drought, and even extreme drought. as we look here just to the west of Charlotte, okay? So you might be thinking, well, you know, we weren't ranked that high in terms of the driest falls ever, so what is going on here? Well, it turns out that there's many, many, many more variables that go into this classification than just how much rain has fallen over a certain period of time. And the Drought Monitor actually made up this nice graphic, and so I just stole it from them, to be honest with you. But to give you an idea of all the things that are going into this, because you, number one, have soil moisture, and then you have groundwater, which is something that runs much deeper than the soil. And then you have precipitation that falls. You have snowpack, snow melting coming in off the mountains and flowing down into the lower elevations. You have the overall humidity of the air, how dry is it, and how much evaporation is going to be going on. There's also something called evapotranspiration, which is the plants basically giving off moisture, the moisture evaporating off the leaves of the plants. And different plants evapotranspirate at different rates. And the higher the temperature, the more the evapotranspiration there is. So there's much more of this going on in the summertime than there is during the winter. You also have the lake and the reservoir levels and where that water goes, and the vegetation health also dictates how much evapotranspiration there is. And so all of these things go into that drought classification. So precipitation is only one of all those factors, and so it's easy to look at that one piece of data and say, oh, we don't have a problem, or we do have a problem. And when you add up all these different variables, it tells you a very, very different story. And the fact that during that 3-month period that 4% of our rainfall, or I'm sorry, 74, was it 74? No, let me go back here. I'm already forgetting. Let's see here. I gotta go back one more graphic. There we go. Yeah, 74% of that rain fell in just 4 days. So again, it was all sort of bunched up and not evenly distributed. Generally, in this part of the country, you are expected to get at least some measurable rain about once every 3 or 4 days. And so clearly we were not evenly distributed, not even close to being evenly distributed like that. All right, folks, that is the bonus weather video for this Friday. Hope you found that interesting. The next bonus weather video will be coming up next Tuesday, and the next daily weather update, of course, coming up on Monday. Today's has already been posted. All right, folks, you all have a great Friday evening, an even better weekend, and we'll talk to you again in a few days. See you later.